Okay, 1 second. Let's pushing it to YouTube.
Did you send the translation yet on everything?
No. Okay.
So we're not doing Shulchan Aruch instead, we're doing the Sikumim.
Yeah. So
Sorry?
here, I'm going to share it over here. What we're doing.
Put it there.
Second. Here's Zoom. Okay. Yeah, and we're gonna try to hit today all of the
Yeah.
Sikumim, but we're gonna go very fast through it, like basically so we can try to cover 4 sessions, 4 sessions, and 4 sessions.
Yeah.
Okay, second, there we go. And
Shin. So
okay,
where do we start?
so starting out, it's gonna be on page
Skidus
5
bottom.
in the Sikumim. Yeah. So the first thing is you have the Gemara, which says that you cannot evict a tenant, and however, if the home of the landlord himself collapsed, then he can evict him. Why? Because you're no better than I am. Why should I have no place to live? So, you don't have no place to live because I'm not giving you advance notice. But why are you better than me? Additionally, the next thing the Gemara talks about is the same thing for the son of the landlord, if he needs a place to live, right? Like he got married. However, that's only if he was negligent. If he was able to tell him before, then it doesn't. Then he can't, and he failed to, then he can't evict him. But if he just found out, then he can. So now the Rosh comments about this Gemara, that this Gemara is talking about when there was no term set. It was when it was Bistam. That in that case, they can the above applies, that if his own house fell, etc. However, if they made a set time, then it's the same that Rosh says as Mekach Memkar. It's a sale. You sold it to him for this period. Just like if I sell my house, I can't then go and tell the guy, oh, my house fell down, so now I need a house. Too bad, you sold it to me. So when the time is set, then it doesn't make a difference. Even his own house fell down, his son needs a place, no difference. It's a set time he made, and too bad. Fine. So now the Shulchan Aruch puts that all together, right? This is Shulchan Aruch Simin Shin Yud Beis Seif Aleph, right? That somebody who rents a house to his fellow, or dwelling to his fellow, or not lavdafka house, it could be a chutzner, right? A courtyard, a bathhouse, a store. If it's for a set time, there's no going back on it. He's in there until the time. And even if his own house fell down, and even if he became poor and he has to sell it, then he can sell it. But the next owner is bound by all the same rules. So even though he can sell it, the new guy can't evict the tenant until the time is done. And
Means the end of the lease. That means the end of the lease, right?
Yeah. So the new landlord, the sale is a good sale. It's the sale takes. It now belongs to the new landlord, to the new owner. But now it's not he can move in. There's a lease there. So it's his property, but he now takes on all of the same obligations, as well as all the same benefits as the prior owner, but he's bound by all the same conditions, whatever the prior owner was. So basically, the lease transfers to the new owner in every which way. Furthermore, the Mechaber says that if somebody paid, even if they didn't agree explicitly, if he paid for let's say it's $1,000 a month, and he paid $12,000, it's as if they were masking between them for 12 months, right? Even though he didn't say it b'mefurish, even though he didn't say it, which this comes from the Beis Yosef, and the Ramam mentions it also. That basically the paying ahead of time is the equivalent of setting a time. Whatever time he paid for, it's as if they made an agreement, and therefore he cannot get him out before this time. Next, they bring a case from Mishnah Halachis where he sold the property. One guy sold the property to another guy. And then he went back and said, oh, I sold it to you now, but my intention was that the sale won't take effect until later, until after the lease is done. So I want the money from the lease. And then after the lease is done, then you get the property. So the Mishnah Halachis answered that no, because that's not a usual thing that somebody would agree to. Why would I pay you money now for your property, but then you still get the rent money? So min hastam, if I'm buying the property, the sale is immediate, and the new owner gets the rent money. But unless he specified specifically, so he would have had to specify this specifically. Otherwise, we assume that the new owner gets the rent money. Now we move over to the idea of how about renovations. So the Ramah writes that somebody who rents a house to his or a dwelling to his friend, the house to his friend, and during the time he wants to renovate, he cannot force the tenant to move out, even if he's offering him a better place. And he cannot even bring in workers. All he can do is ask the tenant to go lifnim mishur sadin and to be a nice guy and to let him in, but he cannot force him. However, the Minchas Osher, he comments on this, that this is talking about if it's mamish, a type of renovations that really causes a disruption. But if it's it disrupts sleep, or it disrupts the house from running. But if it's temporary and not a big deal sort of renovations, he wants a couple of days, guys are going to come during the daytime and enclose a porch, something like this. So then, and assuming the landlord is gonna take care that he shouldn't disrupt the rest of the functioning of the family, then the tenant cannot stop him from this. And how much more so if it's mamish something fast? He needs the guy to come in and change a couple of electric outlets. It's going to take an hour, 2 hours, and that's it. So in this case, we force the tenant because him stopping the guy from doing that much, that's already considered midas daim. And we don't allow him to stop the landlord from doing these kinds of small repairs. Fine. Now, what happens if, in the case where they did not set a time for the rent, there's no rental period set, so then he has to tell him ahead of time, and the amount that he has to tell him ahead of time. So it's set in the Gemara and the Rambam Shulchan Aruch brings it also. He has to give 30 days notice. This is when no rental period has been set. Why? He shouldn't be on the street, and he should be able to have enough time to find a place. So stamazay, it takes 30 days to find a place, and after this, this is in the summer months. But in the winter months, he can't get him out not from Sukkot until Pesach.
Which means really after Pesach, right?
Right, really. Unless meaning he would have had to tell him 30 days before Sukkot.
Huh?
He would have had to tell him 30 days before Sukkot.
Before Sukkot?
In the middle of Elul, yeah.
Right. Well,
and if he missed even one day, he now has to leave him until after Pesach.
Is it like a Tesvav Elul, or what are we talking about? Not Rosh Chodesh Elul, like not Rosh Hashanah. It means
it's Tesvav.
No,
Tesvav.
it's
30 days.
Tesvav.
It's brought in, I think, in the Sman, the Shach, I forget whatever, but it's actually specifies that in the middle of Elul we're talking.
So it's Tesvav Elul, finished.
Yeah.
Okay, now when I get to, you said you can't get him till after Pesach. You can't get him at a Pesach, right?
Not as after, when Pesach is finished, after Achan Shal Pesach.
After Achan Shal Pesach, yeah.
Yeah, Now it depends. This is if he told him a month less 1 day or whatever, or if he told him
Yeah, you have
actually,
to even then you have to
even
full.
Mislama, even if he told him right before Sukkot, then he can get him out Motzi Pesach because then there's enough time. He gave him the whole period, Mislama.
Right.
But if he didn't tell him, like if he tells him before, if he tells him in the middle of that, like let's say he tells him Erev Pesach, then he can't get him out Motzi Pesach. He has to wait. It has to be a full month.
Yeah, but any time in the winter that he tells him, "I want you out," Motzei Pesach, so it's good enough. He
Then
doesn't
then
have,
then he, then he, it would seem he's giving him enough
sure.
enough time.
Like you said, from
Yeah, he was giving him enough time already at this point. So the Smeh explains that in the why. Why is this? Because in the winter, it's first of all, it's harder to move. Being that it's harder to move, people don't move, and therefore it's harder to find a place to rent, even if you wanted to move, because other people aren't moving. So even if he told him 30 days beforehand during this time, you can't evict between Sukkot and Pesach. So yeah, unless he told him 30 days before Pesach started, then he can get him out at the end of 30 days, right? Meaning he can get him out right before Sukkot if he told him 30 days before Sukkot. Furthermore, in the Shulchan Aruch and the Rambam, that this is all in the city, in the small towns, right? And it's also only in residential. But if it's a store, whether it's in a small town or a big town, or if it's even a private dwelling property, but it's in a big town, then he has to give him 12 months, right? Even in the summer, doesn't make a difference what time of year. You have to give now 12 months. Why? Because in a big town, the same reason. Just like in a small town, you need 30 days, but in a big town, it takes 12 months. It always takes 12 months, no matter which time of year. It takes
well,
12 months to find a place.
it's harder to get an apartment in the big city, I guess.
Yeah, and then with
A store also,
the store
30 days.
and the store also, but the store was, so why a store in a small town? Because a store is a different is a different cheshbon. It's also because they have a bill, they have a tab that they keep the people come to pay their bill, and they're not going to know where to come pay the bill. So and usually the bills run for about 12 months. So it takes 12 months in order to tell all the people that they're gonna that from now on they pay after a certain point they're going to pay the bill somewhere else.
And if he gives the notice even in the middle of winter, as long as it's 12 months, it's notice.
Correct. Well, once it's 12 months, the 12 months goes it's May Slace. It doesn't make a difference. Summer, winter, 12 months is 12 months.
A minimum of 12 months. You could do 13 months. You could do 14 months. You just tell him ahead.
Well,
at least.
no, for sure. All of this is a minimum.
Yeah.
Listen, a guy that you have to tell 30 days before. If you tell him 2 months before, fine. No, yeah, you didn't. All of this is talking at least.
Not less. That's the only thing.
Right, not less than. Correct. Now the same holds. The same holds for a tenant. A tenant, if he also has to give notice, right? Because just like, again, like we spoke in Choshen Mishpat, b'derech klal, besides here, like we know, we have the case of the schir yom, who can leave at any point in the middle of his work, even though the balabas is obligated more than him. That's a unique case because of the posuk kili avodim. So that's a unique case where it's not even Stephen. But b'derech klal, we see in Choshen Mishpat the sense of fairness, where if I'm obligated, you're obligated. There's no imbalanced obligations here. So
it's
just
the same
like
thing.
Yeah,
It's the same amount of time, right?
right. So yes, so exactly the same thing. Just like the balabas is obligated to tell you, so you won't end up on the street. You're mechuyev to tell the balabas, so he has time to fill his property. Also, you can't, just like he can't leave you hanging, you can't leave him hanging, and it goes by the exact same numbers. If it's in a small town, a house, then in the winter, In the summer 30 days, in the winter you cannot between Sukkot and Pesach. If it's a store or it's a big town, then 12 months. And like we said, I don't know if he brings it here, but there's certain types of there are certain types of stores that you have to give 3 years, because in those types of businesses, the tab runs for 3 years and not for 12 months. So the Rama says that if he does leave, Rambam Shulchan Aruch say if he does leave, fine, leave, but you still got to pay him till the end of the lease. You're obligated. Rama says unless he finds him a replacement tenant, right? But the key word there is somebody who's fitting, right? Because if he wants to put somebody who's not a fitting tenant, then the balabas can refuse it and say, no, you want, bring me somebody who's fitting. I don't have to, what's it called? Otherwise, you're gonna have to keep paying. You bring me somebody fitting, I can then I'll put him in, and then he can take over your lease. Okay, now what happens if the prices go up or down? So he said that if it's a not set time, there are certain, so then we have the time frames. But can he change? So fine, I can't evict you until a certain time. But can I change the price on you? So the Shulchan Aruch says what we said, that the maskir cannot get the tenant out without proper notice. However, if the houses went up in value, then he can come to the tenant and say, hey, listen, fine, I'm not evicting you because I can't evict you without time to find a place. But the property values went up. So now, because you're in there, I can't get another person in there to pay and if I get and you're paying me less than its value. So either pay me the proper value. Now remember, he can't. The key word here is bishaveha. He can't just he can't just use this as a trick, because he wants the guy out and he doesn't want to give notice. Oh, I'm raising the rent to $1 million a month. No, it doesn't work that way. But if the property values went up, so now instead of 1,000, he can easily find somebody for 1,500 a month. He could tell him, listen, either pay me the 1,500 that I could get the tenant for now in this current market, or leave.
Obviously, he doesn't have a lease. Obviously, otherwise he's
Right,
protected by the lease.
But you can't evict him.
What I'm saying is,
He has no lease. You can't evict him.
He doesn't have a lease, but you cannot evict him, right? But you can demand
pay its worth
to get your worth, right? So how do you
pay
do
what
that?
it's worth. Pay what the market is. You're paying less than market price. Pay what the market price.
Can you do this right away? Can you do this? Demand it right away, or can you wait 30 days? Or
he can demand it right away, but only for the future, not retroactively.
Right, but I'm saying I can come to you on a good day and say, for in the next month, you're going to be in my property. You either pay me or get out.
Yep, exactly.
If the prices
and he has to either pay or get out.
Right.
Similarly, if the property values went down, the tenants can come to the balabas and say, look, I'm not going to leave you. I'm not going to leave you high and dry and just leave you your property, because I have to give you a notice. But you know what? The property values went down, so either lower the price from me, or here, take your house, or I'm leaving. And either the owner will agree to lower it, or he can leave if he wants. Again, this is the key here is bishover. It has to be according to its actual market value, not that he's using as a trick, like, oh, lower it or I leave. If the market value is still the same, you can't do any of this. This is all if taka the market is like this. Now the Shulchan Aruch adds, this is only mikanu lahaba. Right in here, he says exactly what you were saying. He doesn't have to even give notice for this.
Wow!
Right now,
right away. In other words, for the forthcoming month, you can do.
Yeah, mistama, because
Otherwise, it's
remember,
otherwise it's a
then, it
mafreya.
makes
You
sense
know,
because
so?
back then they used to pay at the end of the month anyway. So it makes sense for the upcoming month.
Yeah,
They'll
you know,
tell them
with the
end of
mafreya, you
next
can
month.
do it.
Okay, you're
Yeah.
paying me this now. Fine, I can't do anything about the past. Now you're paying me for last month, but next month it's going to be either pay me the market value or get out. And all of this, right, is first of all, it's only for the future, and you have to have discussed it. It's you don't assume because the prices went up, the price changes. It's he has to come and demand it from him. As long as he didn't come and demand it from him, too bad. It goes by the original price, both ways for both the tenant and the landlord. Until you came and asked for it, it goes by the original price. Now, what happens if it's a schira Lemaan cut? So if you have a lease and there's a set time to the lease, so then, just like we said before, you can't evict him before the time, right? And he can't leave before the time. It's a lease. Sorry. However, when the time is done, there's no notice required. Not for the landlord and not for the tenant. He can get out. Your lease is up. Listen, you already knew when we started the lease that the lease ends at this time. So if we didn't renew it, so you already knew this was the end of the time. And the same thing by the tenant. He's upping the way. Where are you going? You didn't tell me you're leaving. What do you mean? My lease is up. You already knew my lease is up. And so that's what this adds. That just like again, it's the same idea that anything that the balabas is obligated, the same thing holds for the tenant.
Right.
Furthermore, with changing, if the property value, the Shulchan Aruch says, if the property goes up and down, if it's a lease for a set time, you can't ask the tenant for more. The tenant can't ask you for less. With our deal, with whatever the monthly amount is for the whole time. It doesn't make a difference what happened to the property values. And the Rama also brings it in a similar way. He brings similarly this same idea. The piece of Choshen, however, brings what happens if something changed, meaning there was a change in the situation. It became noisier, that neighborhood. Right? It didn't stop just the market went down. But for a certain reason, it went down. They made a new road over there, so now it's more traffic. These kind of things. Or another building went up next to it. All these things. We say Mazoli Goram. Sorry, it's your bad luck. This wasn't the landlord didn't cause this.
I mean, it's not an overall market price. It's due to a individual circumstance.
Right. It's not right. It's not that the economy has caused a lowering or which we said if the economy caused a lowering it up anyways, when you have a set if there's a set lease, doesn't make a difference. Too bad. That's
so
for sure.
in such a case, you cannot give forewarning. You need to give forewarning.
This we're talking about by a set period.
Oh, in case of a lease.
Yeah, in the case of a lease, right? In the case of a lease, it's a set period. I'm sorry, this is the amount we set. The economy went up or down. Too bad. So now he's Pesach bring, even let's say it wasn't because of the general economic things. It's something that affects this house in particular, right?
Whatever the reason is, it's
right,
the same.
Right, as long as it's something that was not caused by the landlord. He didn't directly cause it. It's not. You say by the tenant, Mazali got him. It's his bad luck caused this.
So B'meila, in a case when there's a lease, so you can do nothing about it, right? But what about the case when there's no lease? You could do Benkach. I don't understand what
Then,
the deal.
so then, anyways, you can do something about it.
Exactly. So it's Mimanashach. If there's a lease, you can do nothing about it.
So,
You know what I'm saying?
because he's going to contrast it to something else. So, first of all, if whatever the pagam is,
Yeah.
can make it like a mekach tos,
Then you can break the
then
lease.
yeah, right, because then he can come to the well, the truth is it's going to depend, like we're going to learn later. Did you say bayis? Did you say did you say bayis? Was it did you say this
Yeah.
house? Did you say any house? So but either case, then either he's going to have to move him to a different. But let's say for now, the top we're talking about this house. So if it's something that could invalidate the lease in its entirety, so fine. Then obviously he can come and renegotiate it.
Right.
However, if it's not something of that nature that can be mevatel the entire agreement, then too bad. That's you're still stuck in it and you have to pay that. Now, on the other hand, if the landlord he caused that it's worth more, so the pisichation was he wasn't sure if he can ask for a higher money or not because he made it nice, right? And he uses it like
even when there's a lease, you're asking?
yeah. And he uses it similar to like somebody who went into the sada of his friend, into the field of his friend, and he made it more worth more, and then he can come and demand more money.
In the middle of a lease.
Well, by a field, for example, even let's say
But you being bedam and milsa.
Yeah, because here he's saying, it's your property. I leased it to you. It's like a sale.
Yeah.
But I came and made your property worth more. Now pay me for it.
But I never asked you.
Well, whatever. But I came and made it nicer. So now it's worth more. Now you got to pay me. It's like it's like the guys who clean your windows and ask you for money.
Right.
However,
are you telling me that in the case, even if the lease, I would have to succumb to your thing?
The pisichation is not sure. He's not sure. He's not sure if it's the same as the guy who comes in the field or not. However, he adds that if the tenant was very clear that he's not interested in it, that I don't care for these. You want to go do renovations for the next guy, whatever you want to do, but I'm not interested in renovations. I'm not paying more. Then it doesn't make a difference. Even if the guy went and did the renovations, he can't charge him more because he made clear that he doesn't want it. Now in Avnei Yashvez brought that the question is, what happens if there's a big concern in the property? Does the tenant have to warn other people, say they're coming to look at the house? So does he have to warn the new tenants? And he says, yeah, you have to warn them. Why? Just like Ino by Mekach Memker. Right? Why? Because it's Hashavas Aveda. You're saving the money of another person. Unless he's afraid that the Balabais, let's say the Balabais owns a lot of properties around, or something, is a powerful person, whatever it is, and he's afraid he's gonna take revenge on him. Then he's putter from telling people, because why? Because even though he has a chiyuv of returning the money of his friend, he's not required to lose his own money because of this. Okay, so that's Shin Yud Beis. Now we jump over Shin Yud Gimel, and it goes straight to Shin Yud Dalet.
We skip Shin Yud Gimel?
Yeah, we go to Shin Yud Dalet. Yeah. So now different repairs and different expenses. Who is obligated in them? So the Mishnah in Bava Metzia says that somebody who rents to his friend, the landlord is obligated in the door, in the bolt, in the lock, right? We said the bolt is from the inside, the lock is from the outside.
Yeah.
And in anything that is a Maisa Uman, anything that's not a do-it-yourself thing, anything that requires a professional. But something that does not require a professional is on the tenant.
Yeah.
So the Gemara says on this that Tanu Rabbanan, somebody who rents to his friend, he has to put up doors, he has to open windows. Remember, we're talking about this, the way they were made back then. And what they were talking about was that there were windows that would close up and you had to reopen them. He has to strengthen the ceiling and to put up beams. However, the tenant has to make a ladder if he wants to. Remember, we're not talking about to an aliyah. We're talking about here to the roof, because an aliyah to an aliyah, that's a basic thing that's required. And he has to make a micah, to make a fence, and to make also to put, if he wants to put a marza, which is like a gutter, or if he wants to replaster the roof to make it more waterproof.
That's on the maskir, on the soicha, all these things.
And that's all on the tenant. Where
Right.
things like the
Because
doors, windows,
a ladder to the roof is only because he wants to be mishtamish on the roof. It's not really...
right. It's not an aliyah. We're not talking about like a second floor.
Yeah, that's otherwise
for the roof.
That's for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. So now the Rambam and Shulchan Aruch write on this: a maskir bais lachavere chayiv lahamid le'delases. He has to put doors, right? Lifsech le'chalenes yiniskalkalu, right? Where the window has right. It was a hole in the wall, and they would close up over time. So he has to right lechazik atikra to so to strengthen the roof beams. They're like the cross beams in the roof, and to put the beams that hold that up, right? So if it's broken and there's and it could collapse, and to make last says nagor, to make the beam for the bolt for the door, to close the door from the inside, and the manual lock, which has how you lock it from the outside. And also, if the maziva, which is the roof, the ceiling plaster, and the ceiling beams, the ceiling cross beams, opened up 4x4, he has to fix it.
Yeah.
Right, and like we learned that this is what's this talking about? Right, if you look at note 25, which is an important note to that, is that Lashon Rambam bedin tikra maziv shnivtuchu shaynim Lashon Shulchan Aruch. He used a different lashon, and he says amaskir aliyo lachavere. And we say that Mistam the Shulchan Aruch is really talking about the same thing.
Because
right, it's not talking about for the guy who lives on bottom if it opened up 4x4. It's talking about the guy who lives on top if it opened, because that ceiling is his floor, and now he's missing the place to put a keli, and so he has the loss of the use of a keli.
Yeah, that's like considered like the minimum. The smallest keli. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
From that point up, you're responsible.
From that point up, it's already called the loss of a keli.
Yeah.
And so everything's similar, but the basic rule here is. That's the two requirements. B'shivas abatim v'chatzeres, depending on if he's renting out a house or whatever it is. The same thing would apply to what's it called? To a bathhouse and anything else you're renting out. Is it two things? Is it a davar? Is it an ikar gadol? Is it a basic requirement for the use of the property? And is it Maisa Uman? If it meets those things,
then the maskir has to pay.
Yeah, then it's on the landlord. If it doesn't meet both of these qualifications, then it's on the tenant. The Ramah says that these obligations are on the landlord, even if the tenant did not say anything about it. because his silence is not considered forgiving it. Rather, it's just he's going on the assumption. You told me you're gonna give me a place. So anything that's a davar ikar and is a ma'isa uman, obviously you're gonna take care of, and therefore I didn't say anything. But it's not considered. It's not considered a mechila that he waived his rights. The bottom line is now the Aruch HaShulchan goes and takes all of this. So first of all, everything we've been talking about here, up until everything we're talking about is if there is no agreement otherwise. Everything here is if we did not make a specific agreement, then we go by this. However, even in such a case, we didn't make a specific agreement. There's another thing that also overrides all this. So the Aruch HaShulchan brings bechol makom umakim lefi minhagei chayiv hamas l'taken dvarim hakvuim. What the Gemara and the Mishnah is talking about is lav dafka. In their times, that was the norm. The norm was that anything that's not that's not an ikar gadol, and that's not a thing for an expert, was on the landlord. I mean, was on the tenant. Otherwise, if it is a main thing and it needs an uman, then it's on. So that's the way it was nog then. However, this says Aruch HaShulchan, in each place it's going to go by the minhag there. So, for example, in our Medines, to make double windows, right, like double shutter, they would have double shutters to make so it stay warm, like they have in certain parts of Europe.
Yeah.
And to fix tzakin tanuri beis hachirif, to make sure the furnace is working. Nowadays, that would mean, like, for example, a rental in Florida would mean that the air conditioner is working, because that's a regular thing that's required, and that's a regular thing that generally is when you're going into a place, you're expecting that it's working. That's the minhag hamokim. And to before the winter, to plaster the walls to insulate them, and as well as to pour dirt, right? The bottom of the walls, there shouldn't be a space to pour dirt to seal up the spaces, and all similar things. Meaning, if there is a minog that's known in that place, so then when you make a haskama between you to rent a place, we assume that the haskama you made was based on the regular minhagim. That's what, because remember, here we're talking about where there's no contract between them that specifies all these things. So when there's no specification, we assume that you're both going on this understanding of the minhag hamokim is what's going to be required. So nowadays, that would be, for example, a water heater and even, like we said, bars in a place where it's like if you're in Brooklyn, so is bars required. In Pittsburgh, it wouldn't be required because almost nobody has bars. I remember when I was growing up in Los Angeles, everywhere did have bars. Nowadays in Brooklyn, often all the floors have bars.
Yeah.
all depending on the why, because the Ganovim, they know how to climb up the fire escapes also.
Yeah.
As well as they put them also from the inside. So Chas V'Shalom, children shouldn't be able to fall out of windows. Also, it all goes by the minhag hamokim. Whatever is normal in that place in that time, that's what we assume the agreement was. Okay, so that's all when you move in. Now, what happens if something goes wrong in middle of after the rental started? So the Ramah says that if the landlord fixed all the things, everything when he moved in, everything was as it should be, and then they got broken in the middle. So then it depends. If he said bayizeh, then he doesn't have to put him in another place. If he said just bayis, just a house, then he has to fix it throughout the entire period of rental. That, according to the Ramah, when they made the haskama, when they agreed between them, so then so generally speaking, he's only obligated to have at the time the guy moved in, but from that point moving forward, anything that goes wrong is on the tenant, unless they didn't, right? So long as they agreed on a specific property, right? As opposed to say a hotel or something like this, or you know, where I came to you and said I need an apartment. And you said, okay, I'll give you an apartment. Here's the terms, whatever. And now you say, oh, well, it broke. So I said, listen, I didn't ask for this apartment. I asked for an apartment. So you need to provide me with a working apartment. I don't care if it's this one, it's that one. The Rama adds that according to the Shulchan Aruch, even where they agreed on a specific house, the Shulchan Aruch holds that the landlord is still obligated to fix it throughout the whole rental period. So the Shulchan Aruch disagrees with the Rama. Interestingly, the Aruch HaShulchan says that in this case, the Minog Ashkenaz is we follow the Shulchan Aruch. That even though an Ashkenaz usually follows the Rama, that even when he said Bayizeh, the landlord is still required to keep the place in repair through all the time, even if something went wrong.
It makes no difference. By stam,
Yeah.
you're always responsible.
However, what are we talking about? Says the Aruch HaShulchan, is we're talking about when it's something that happened by itself through regular wear and tear, not something that happened from negligence, from the if he was negligent, then no.
Does it make a difference between by and by stam, by negligence?
No, because according to the Shulchan Aruch, it makes no difference. According to the Ramah, yeah.
Even if it's negligence?
Well, no, according to the Ramah, Mistama would be the same thing.
I think negligence.
Meaning according to the Ramah, according to the Ramah, if he said bayis, he's not obligated at all, even if it's regular wear and tear.
Right.
If he said bayis, then it would seem that it would follow this. That if he said bayis, then if it was regular wear and tear, he has to. If it was negligence of the tenant, he still doesn't have to. Listen, you broke it. It's not on me. You broke it. You were negligent.
So it's not negligence. So then the balabos would have to pay, right? That's what he said. The masker has to pay if it's not negligence. If
right.
it's
So
negligence,
now it depends. So by the Ramah, that's only if he said by his stam, but not by zeh. By zeh, he wouldn't have to pay for regular rent.
So negligence chapter nafkamim by stam. So then, if it's said by some, normally the balabos has to shoulder it, right? But if it's negligence, so then the thing has to the soicher has to pay. And you think the same applies.
Meaning, if it's negligence, the tenant will always have to handle his negligence. The question is, what if it's not negligence? That's what there's an afkamina. Right. If there's no negligence, so according to the Shulchan Aruch, and the Aruch HaShulchan says that we paskin by the Shulchan Aruch in this case, not by the Ramah. If it's regular wear and tear, the balabos, no matter what the wording was, he has to take care of it. According to the Ramah, no, it depends if he said by his or by his stam.
He said by ze, then hold on a second. By stam, then he's not chayiv, right?
Yeah.
Eino chayiv. Shulchan Aruch says in all cases, the soicher is chayiv, right?
Yeah. If it's by his according to the Ramah.
By the soicher is chayiv. By stam, it's not chayiv. It's not.
By Stami, I didn't say this house. You give me any, so give me a different one. So then
Yeah.
then the masculine is chayiv when it's by Stam. Okay, that's according to the Ramah, unless there was negligence.
By the masculine is chayiv, right?
Yeah, unless there's negligence. If there's negligence, then listen, you did damage. You fix your damage. That's always.
And in Shulchan Aruch,
In Shulchan Aruch, there's no difference in the lashonis. If it was wear and tear,
right.
then the masker is chayiv. If it was pshi, if it was like pshi as a seicher, he's chayiv always, no matter what's the language.
With the seicher, went to the masker. Went to the masker is chayiv, and pshia. The soicher is chayiv.
So, for example, in Eishel,
Yeah.
in Eishel, when you rent from them, you're renting by Yistam. You're not renting by Yizeh. Right?
Yeah.
But they have big signs on top of the toilets. Don't put only. They have it in French and in English and in Lashon HaKodesh.
Yeah.
Only put toilet paper in here, nothing else. So if you went and put something else, you're negligent. You're going to have to pay for the damage. You're going to have to pay for
Right.
They're going to charge you. Why? Because you were negligent. There's a giant sign on top of it that tells you not to put anything else in there.
They're still open, those people?
Eishel? I think so.
Yeah.
So now, Rambam and Shulchan Aruch, right, continuing, that the tenant is required to put a mica, right? When it's mitzvahs mica.
Yes, so it's chiyuv ador.
Yeah, because that's a chiyuv ador and a mezuzah.
And also chiyuv ador. Chavas ador.
Yeah. As well as preparing the place for the mezuzah, and also if he wants a ladder or a gutter, which again the gutter back then there was pegs in the wall, and you would lay like planks on these things so that when the water would come down, it would go to the end of the plank and fall further from the house. So it wouldn't.
Why does it over here latiach gagoi is it's the soicher?
Why? Because back then it was a normal thing that people would that a person living there would take care by himself. It wasn't a thing. It
wasn't considered a basic thing. It wasn't considered a basic thing.
Or even if it is called a basic thing, alternatively, you could say because it wasn't a Maisa Uman. It was a regular
I think so. I think that's Mash Meloshen Ramah. Who adin kol dover shein Maisa Uman. Chol elu enyonim holchem acher minach.
So nowadays a gutter, the landlord is because nowadays tenants don't put up their own gutter.
And the roof too. You know what I'm saying?
And the roof and the gutter is right. All these things in our day in at least in our day and place, it could be in a village in Poland, the tenant handles it, but still. Yeah, fine. So the Ramah writes in Hilchos Mezuzah, which would be in Yeredeya, that even if the tenant he rented it and he thought there was mezuzahs and then he realized there's no mezuzahs, it doesn't make it a mekach tos. Why? Because since the mitzvah is on the person living in it, so we assume that he would be willing to live in it even without the mezuzahs because he would want to pay for the mitzvah out of his own money.
Yeah.
The Pri Chodosh, it would seem from the Pri Chodosh that if he specifically made a condition, then he can taina mekach tos. However, the Magen Avram and Shulchan Aruch Harav, they say no. Even if he made a condition, it's not a valid condition, and he still can't taina mekach tos.
So there's two hagdoros over here. there's a Hagdor of Becheskas. That's one thing.
Correct.
And then the Pri Chodesh is saying not Becheskas is Meide. That is not that is
Yeah.
Chayiv. That
But if the
Im Hisna is
right, he
saying.
stipulated. So there's a stipulation as
The other one is not. He didn't stipulate.
Correct.
Becheskas means it's
Means
on,
he
with the
assumes.
understanding. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
he's assuming.
He's assuming. He is not assuming. He made the chiddush over here is that even in such a case, the Alter Rebbe holds that you're and the Magen Avraham. It's a very, very important thing to be mechalik between Becheskas.
Yeah. So
Becheskas and
obviously by
Altanai.
us, we would hold that based on Alter Rebbe that even if
Sure.
even if he what's it called, even if he stipulated, still it's still
Alachas kama Becheskas. There's no
right.
Becheskas.
All right. So it goes without saying. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Okay, so now once we're on the topic of mezuzah, it says in the Gemara that when you rent a house, he has to make a mezuzah. And when he leaves, he can't take it with him if it's a Jewish house, right? However, if you're going out from a Goyish house, then you do take it. And there was a Maaseh be'echad, right, that he rented from a Jew, and he took the mezuzahs, and he moved them, and he ended up burying his wife and two sons. So the Rishonim, they have different shitas as to why we don't move the mezuzahs, and there's going to be an afkamin al halacha based on this situation. And according to the Ge'inim, it's because of busy mitzvah. You're taking these mezuzahs that were being used for a mitzvah, and you're taking them down. You're insulting the mezuzahs. So based on this, if you put them up in another house, it's fine. It's just you can't take them off and leave them off. Taisvis, however, writes that no, it's because you're causing them because the mazikim will come to a house that has no mezuzah. Based on this, it doesn't make a difference if you're going to put them up somewhere else. You still can't take them off. And the Ritba writes, why? Because the Kedushas HaShechina is on this house and you can't remove it. So according to him also, it doesn't make a difference if you're putting them up in another house or not. So Shulchan Aruch brings in Hilchos Mezuzah that Aseicher Bayis Mechaveirei Aseicher Chayav L'Kvei B'Mezuzah L'Takin Mekin K'Vyusa Uchesheyetze Lo Yitlena B'Yodei. And this doesn't only apply to a renter; it applies to a seller also. When he leaves the house, if he's selling it to another Jew, he can't take them off. The Birkei Yosef writes that in a Shas Adchak that he's not able to get. Okay, now listen. There's nowhere we live in there. We live in a place that there's no seifrim. It's hard to get mezuzahs. Where there's a shortage of mezuzahs, something. And I'm moving into a new place, and I don't have mezuzahs for my new house. What am I going to do? So he says, in such a case, you can rely on the shitas hagainim, that it's only if you're not putting them up in a new place. The Birkei Yosef also says that the isur of taking down the mezuzahs is even if the new person is going to put his up right away. He's going to put up his own mezuzahs. Even so, there's
is this before the Birkei Yosef, the Shulchan Aruch Bechus Mezuzah? That's there's no Alter Rebbe in Hilchos Mezuzah, right?
That's what.
That's not the Alter Rebbe because we don't have it. No. I don't think we have it.
No, that's Shulchan Aruch.
Regular Shulchan Aruch, yeah. Birkei Yosef Mikesh Shasat Chak. So then he could put it because you can be samach in the goyim. What else did Birkei Yosef say? I'm sorry. He says
that in a Shas Adchak, when you don't have mezuzahs to put up for your new house, then you can rely on the reasoning of the Ge'inim that according to them, it's the bizui mitzvah, and therefore if you're putting them up in a new place, it's okay.
Yeah. It costs a Birkei Yosef something.
Right. Furthermore, he wrote that even if the other guy's putting up his own mezuzahs, so I'll take them down. The other guys, so I don't have the problem of mazikim, because the other guy's going to put up his own mezuzahs. However, the chacham and the lay plug, they didn't differentiate.
Until the other guy comes and Bepoil does it. When he does
Yeah,
it,
so
then
once
he
he
can.
comes and puts them up, he can take down yours and return it to you.
Yeah, but you can't take it off before he puts on his.
Right.
That's the pshat.
Yeah.
I forgot there. Yeah.
So now what happens if you have special mezuzahs and you want to take your special mezuzahs? So according to many contemporary poskim, you can take them, you can put up, but not right away. You should do it, let's say, a month before you move out, or at least a few days before you move out. I think 30 days is better even, but you should put up other mezuzahs because the lay plug was only when it's two people. When I'm moving out and you're moving in, then lay plug, right? But if I'm taking down mezuzahs and putting up for myself mezuzahs, then the takana doesn't follow me at all. So if you have special mehud and mezuzahs, what should you do? You can so another thing is to put up more cheaper mezuzahs, at least a few days before. I think ideal is 30 days.
Yeah.
And then he'll take those down and give them back to you. But like this, you didn't have to worry about your what's it called? Okay, now how about combined joint expenses? So the joint expenses, the Achreinim brought down. So this is in Pesach Choshen, Avnei Yashve. That when it comes to like the payments for the Vada Bayis, like for the association, the homeowners association, or payments for cleaning and the landscaping and all other joint expenses that everybody in the building takes care of, that all of these things he has to pay because he has enough from this. He has to pay in this.
So he's renting it from somebody who's actually part of the. Is that the way it is over here, or he is the? Does he own this co-op or
honestly,
or he's renting it?
I think it could be either way. No, he's renting. It says here
he's renting it from somebody who,
right.
who
now.
owns.
But now, by the way, this is going to be a very, very rare thing to come up these days.
So he's subletting it. He's subletting it. That's what he is doing, right?
Well, no, he's let's say Shimon's renting from Reuven. Now Shimon has to pay these things. Why? Because he's the one benefiting from it. But
But Reuven is the actual member of the co-op.
Fine, but Shimon has to
and
pay
the owner of the condominium. So now he's coming and renting for him. He's telling the halach over here is that he's responsible.
That Shimon has to pay it.
Right, because as
you're the one living there. You're the one benefiting.
Now, not the actual owner. Yeah. That's what I'm saying.
Now, again, this is going to be a very rare situation nowadays because I can't imagine a rental agreement today that wouldn't include who's paying the HOA fees. You know, in fact, even in Airbnbs.
Yeah.
In Airbnbs, it specifies if you have to pay the HOA fees for a certain period, or if they're
he's like this. The owner secures himself that they will get paid.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying. He doesn't want to rely on the guy on the soicher, and then he'll leave the bills
right.
unpaid.
It's always included in the agreements nowadays.
Sure.
Furthermore, with the mezuzah, a joint mezuzah.
The building.
Also, he has to join in that expense. However, if they decided something that's to paint the stairwell, even though it's a joint place, but since he does not benefit from the increased VAT, right? Meaning, we're saying if it's something that has to do with the use, then it's on the tenant. If it's something that has to do with beautifying or elevating the value of the property itself, okay, that he doesn't benefit from, that the owner benefits from. So then the landlord has to deal with it. Why? Because it's his property. So this doesn't benefit me. This benefits the value of your property. Okay, Shin Lamed Gimel Sifim 1 to 4. Mifkosh 14.
1 second. Durability. What are you saying now?
We're now session 14.
Shin Lamed Gimel, right?
This should be very familiar to us. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah. So the makir in the Gemara is a seicher es a umnin, the hitu es balabayis, a balabayis hitu esam, ein lam zal tarumes. So they don't have if either they didn't show up or he told them up. There's no work anymore. I told you yesterday there was work, now there's no work. They only have a grievance against each other. There is no monetary claim. The Braisa adds, when are we talking about? Shalei holchu. But if they went, the donkey drivers went and there was nothing for them to pick up, or the workers went and they found a field that's unworkable, so then he has to pay them. However, so therefore, like we said, being that he's not actually doing work, all he's doing is showing up, so he only has to pay him like a payal batel. That we figure out how much a person would be willing to sit and not have to work, and that's how much you pay him. So now the Rambam and Shulchan Aruch, Aseiches Apeilim Hitus Balabayis, Ei Balabayis Hit Eisam in Al Zel Tarumes, Bamedvar Mamurim, like it said in the Braisik Shlei Holchu, Avul Holchu Kamarim Lemazudvua, Peilim Umotu Sadik Shilecham, Oish Schorim Lahashki Sasadu Mutsu Shnis Malamayim. Either way, the field was unworkable. So then it depends. If he went and checked it the day before and it needed and it was fine, then even holchu, they don't have any taina against him. He did his due diligence. But in lay biker, he was negligent, then he has to pay them like a pill bottle. So now the question is, we said there's no monetary claim. The question now is going to be, is it mamish mutar, and there's no problem at all, or really it's asur and the mechusri amana, just they don't have a monetary claim. So we know the Tur held that it's mamish harishus biyadei, and the Smeh comments that based on this, it's not, since it's mamish or just biyodei, he's not even mechusar amana from this. Right? Rather, he's the same as by mekach memkar. If somebody went back on his word because something changed. Right? Like we know over there that the way the Tur holds, if you changed your mind, if you pulled out for no reason, you're a mechusar amana. But if you change your mind for a reason, then you're not a mechusar amana. So here he holds the same thing. However, there are those that hold there that pulling out even with a reason is a mechusar amana. So the same will be here, that even though ein olav tarumes, that's just as far in so much as that there's no monetary claim. However, he's not allowed to do it, and he's a mechusar amana if he does it. The Ramah puts that he brings a yesh emrim that if the balabos did meshicha on the kli aved of the pale, then it's like a kinyan, and then they can't go back. Besides, for as we'll see later, the Schiriyim who can always go back. Even though there was a shita that no, the Schiriyim can't go back, but we didn't go by that. The Shach didn't like that. V'hainu the shabalabais ein yochel lachzebei v'chein apel ein yochel lachzebei im evet bekablonis, of course. However,
what did we say by a stoicher? That if there's a kinyan, he could be chayzer by or not?
Yeah. So the Shach brought an opinion.
Yeah.
That no, by a kinyan even the seicher can't, and he didn't, and he struck it down. He didn't like it. He said no. Schedyan can even
Yeah, he says that a
even
soicher,
Kenyan, even his skill Aveda.
but he's allowed to keep. But he's allowed to keep the thing, though, right? He's allowed to keep the.
So that's a different story. Yeah,
That he's allowed to keep.
if it's still in his possession, he can keep it for the other guys to until they
But he
finish.
can demand. He cannot demand it. If he gave it back, he gave it back. Remember that
Yeah.
part.
Correct. Yeah. So now that Ramban and Rashba, they wrote that the this din that the Poilim don't have only taromis, as long as they didn't go, is specifically when when he didn't cause them damage. Meaning either they can still find work now, so there's no damage, or they couldn't find work in the first place, which means also there's no damage. I didn't do you any damage. When I hired you, nobody else was hiring. I didn't do you any damage. Alternatively, even if they were hiring, but now here, there's other jobs just like this. Go and take. So the Shulchan Aruch says, when do we say this? That is only tarumas in a case shalei holchu, right? Because if holchu, it doesn't make a difference. Even there was no work available, and there's work available now. Well, at least there was no work available. If there's work now, it's still not a problem. But so dafke b'shaloi hayichilim lahaskir atzmam emesh kischarim kischarim bal balabayze. Aval im hayu niskarim emesh v'achshav ein niskarim klal. Harizeh kedavar avod lahem v'chayiv midina degarmi. Why? Because now he caused them a damage. Even though it's not a direct damage, but it's enough of damage. That's considered a garmi and not a groma, and therefore he has to reimburse them for this. He has to pay them for like a pale bottle, or alternatively, if they can find the job but not a job of the same amount, then he has to pay them the difference. The Shulchan Aruch added that the im halchu, right? Afal pishaloyo yumitzim laskir atzma mamesh neisim lohem scharim kepel bottle. V'hu she'achshav ein niskarim klal. Al im yitzim mish yaskirim b'schirusei be'isim t'nai schar ein lohem el taromis v'im ein mitzim liyis niskarim el b'pachim shalom l'b'chas. So here's how it works. If yesterday there was no work when I hired you, so then it depends if holchu or lay holchu. Right? So if there was no work yesterday and lay holchu, only tarumis. If holchu, even though there was no work yesterday,
but there's work today.
Yeah.
He could have got a job today. Unless you'll tell me that there was no work yesterday and there's no work today. But,
right.
But in the case of where there was work yesterday.
Once holchu doesn't make a difference. Holchu, it's kaschol asaveda, and even if there was nothing available, it's still you're okay.
Yeah, I think even if there's no work today, once they went, it's a scholas aveda. You know what I'm saying? It's
so
not
that's
relevant.
if there's no work today. If there is work today, then it doesn't make a difference even halchu. Because there's no nezik. Here, there's work today. I can find work by here, next door, go next door, there's work. So then even in either case, whether halchu or loy halchu, in all cases, if there was work today available,
right.
No problem. Now, what if there's work today, but it's less? So then it'll depend halchu or loy halchu. If halchu, he has to pay them the pras. If loy halchu, then it'll depend on if there was work available yesterday or not. If there was work available yesterday, then the shalom pras. If there was anyways no work yesterday, he doesn't even have to pay them.
That's only if the yesterdays was the same in part.
Was work available the same like you were offering? Correct.
You're offering
Because otherwise. Meaning it's always going to be limited to what your nezek was to them. I can't tiny you more than you were mazik me.
Right.
Yeah.
It'd be a lot of fun if he asks you a question like that.
Yeah. Now all of this is is when the balabas did not stop there the day before because it's his fault. But if it was not his fault at all, he did his. He's an honest. Why? He checked. I checked it yesterday. Everything looked great. Then it doesn't make a difference. There was work available, wasn't work available. He's an honest. No problemos. Oh, we also, if you remember, there was also the point that he made, and that Ramah made, that if he sent that holchu is dafka when they themselves holchu, not when he sent the shliach in their place to go look.
Yeah, shliach is nothing, no?
It's not. It's only dafka when they themselves went.
Yeah.
So now,
There you don't say shliach adam k'moisei.
yeah, right.
It's important to remember
Even
that.
though usually you would say. So now he's going to now bring some cases of contemporary cases. That, for example, if there was a car accident or the electric went out all of a sudden, these kind of things, or a sudden big snowstorm or a heat wave or a sudden storm or something that stopped him from having the work, then he's an onus. However, if he was not an einus and he was negligent, then he's gonna have to pay them unless they could find something else in the same thing. And if any one of these things apply, either they made a kinyan, or he already started, or he caused them a loss based on his like we said before, that they could find before, now they can't find. So in all those cases, he's gonna have to pay them. So now, based on that, somebody who orders a taxi, right, or a transport or whatever, and then he cancels it. And now this, even though he didn't start going towards him, but this driver, he refused other customers, and now he can't find another customer, so you have to pay him like a pale bottle, even though he didn't start going. Why? Because you're got me. At the time that you hired that you ordered the trip, he could find other travelers. Now he can't. Again, this is when it's not an einus. Right? Like, for example, all of a sudden your friend tells you, listen, I'll take you for free. Right? So that means there's no einus. You find a cheaper thing. So, but you caused me a loss. Right? But if it's from an einus, like he all of a sudden doesn't feel good, or the event was canceled, then he doesn't have to pay him. But if it's just something like he found a tramp or somebody offered him a ride, then he has to pay. Now, if the taxi driver can now find another customer, but he already started traveling towards your spot, and then in the middle of the trip towards you canceled, so then he has to pay him for the even though he doesn't have to pay him for another customer, because now the guy found another customer, but for the amount that he drove, you have to pay him. The same thing we say, what happens by a photographer, a band, a electrician, a babysitter, all these things, and then he had an einus, right? The event was canceled, and the engagement was cut off, whatever, these kind of things. So then he can go back and he doesn't have to pay. However, if the guy already had expenses, then he has to pay him. Even if he's not going to have any ano. Why? The guy, he paid for a rental car. He paid for equipment, all these kinds of things. The lecturer, he already spent time preparing his speech. All these things, he's already expended the money. Doesn't make a difference. Even in the case of an einus, you have to pay him. Now, however, if nowadays, like you have sometimes where you give a deposit, and the understanding is that you lose your deposit, so then that's going to be the deal. You're gonna you can you're it's mutter to lachzer bay, because listen, our deal. Well, first of all, if you didn't give the deposit, right, or the credit card number, whatever is required, then you can go back with no issue. Why? Because he could have come back and told you, sorry, I already gave it to somebody else. You didn't give the deposit. I told you it's not closed until you give a deposit, or until you give a credit card number. So then it's not a closed deal. We never closed the deal. So then bichlal you can go back. But if you gave this thing, then you're locked in. However, very often nowadays the general understanding is that you don't have to pay the whole thing, but if you go back, you'll lose your deposit. So then once you lose your deposit, you're scot free on the rest. Why? Because we're assuming that's the understanding. Again, all of this assumes that there's no, generally speaking, in all these cases, there's a very they send you a thing, and you have to send them back that you agree, right? Even if it's electronically by email or something, they'll generally send you what all the Tanoim are, what other thing, and you send back agree. So then you're bound by the Tanoim. So, but if not, you go by what the minog is, what the general understanding is in these places. Fine. So now, what happens if you're not renting a service, but you're renting items or a car or something like this? So all of the things that we spoke about above are the same when you're renting objects. So, for example, if you rented a car or you rented a PA system for an event, and now you want to cancel, so it depends if you already gave the deposit, or you gave the credit card number, or you already received the item, meaning it's like ascholas malacha, then you can't go back on it. And if you go back, you have to pay like a pill bottle, or really according to whatever is the contract was, which goes without saying, because always if you had a contract, it goes by the contract. So generally speaking, for example, if you're gonna rent something from Home Depot tools, you sign a thing that says exactly what your obligations are, and if you can go back, if you can't. So obviously you're going to go by that. And indeed, there are some companies that allow you to cancel with zero liability. For example, so, and on Airbnb, it's not usually, it doesn't go by their policy. It goes by the one renting it. They can select what the policy is going to be. And when you're renting it, you rent based on that policy. And sometimes I've had this where I've had a property, my needs changed, I canceled, and I'm allowed to cancel because it's the going understanding that this property is being rented with a free cancellation policy. As long as you cancel before a certain date, you pay nothing. Similarly, when you have like for example, Hertz, we have President's Club. You can book the car, you don't pay until you get there, and if you don't show up, it's no what's it called? You don't pay nothing, and that's the understanding you have with them. So that's fine. So now, what happens if now Sifim Gimel Dalit the Peil Shechez Meheskim Schiris Memaisik? So we said is all the above we're talking about is by a the balabas is obligated by this, and a kablan is obligated by this. However, how about a schir yaim? So we said that because li b'nei Yisrael avodim and not avodim lavodim.
Yeah.
So like it says in the Gemara that payel yochel lachzed by afilu b'chetzi hayom. That it's talking about the schir yom, but not a kablan. So the Shulchan Aruch writes based on this that if the payel started to work and he quits half a day in, he can quit no problem. And even if he already got the money for the whole day, and he already spent it, and he can still quit, but he'll just owe the balabas money.
Machlokes over there, remember?
Yeah, like does it mean he has the money, or does it mean the mamish doesn't have the money, or does it mean he has the money but he doesn't want to give it, or he doesn't liquid, or
If he has the money, he should pay up. He should pay him. If he doesn't have the money, he
then he
owes
should
it.
pay him. Right. If he doesn't have the money, he's gonna have to owe him.
But he doesn't get scot-free. That's the point.
Yeah. Either way, you still owe him the money.
In this
Not-
bottom, it's chayav
Right.
l'shalom.
Right. At the same time, because of Li Yisrael Avodim, he can't. Despite the fact that he doesn't have the money to pay anymore, he can't hold him. He's just gonna have to hold it. He's gonna have a debt to him, but he owes him money.
Masik is the employer, no? Masik.
Yes. And it's interesting. This Mez pointing this out. Why is he pointing this out? Like we said before, because in Choshen Mishpat there is an overarching concept of fairness and equality. If I'm held to something, you're held to something. Both parties are held across the board to the same thing. This is a big exception to that rule. And why? Because it's Gzeres HaKosov. Only because it's Gzeres HaKosov, because really there's no other reason that because mitzad this is really the payil should also be held by this.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he's pointing out that Taka, this is very different than what the employer is being held by, and that's because it's Gzeres HaKosov. It's not and at the same time, right, you have the employer is being held by the regular set of rules. He's being held. He can't just he has to pay for what he's causing. So you have in the Gemara where it explains, right, that the schir yom, what happens if, and not only when can he leave, it's yodi ala el, but a kablan, since he's not allowed to, if he does retract, it's yodi ala tachtaina. Meaning what? That the payil gets paid for what he did, and the kablan gets paid after it's deducted what's left to be done. Right? So, for example, the payil, the schir yom, right? If the agreement was 8 hours and he worked 4 hours, he gets paid for his 4 hours, whatever the hourly agreement was. On the other hand, the kablan, if he, what do you call it? The kablan, if he worked 4 hours, he doesn't get paid for the other 4 hours. Because if it's going to cost you the amount of 5 hours to get somebody else to complete it, he's only going to get paid for 3 hours. We deduct from him whatever it's going to cost to finish the job, and then he gets paid the rest.
So a soicher, if he gets paid what if the agreement was,
however much he worked, he gets paid. Now, if you remember, there was a Hava Amina. I don't remember if it was Nashach or the Taz. There was a Hava Amina. I think it was Nesmet. Looks like here. I'm not sure. Oh, it was a Machlekes Smeh and Shach. That the Smeh said it's mistaber that Yodal ala Yoina means that if it costed you less, like let's say it was $800 for 8 hours.
yeah.
So
you finished it in half the time.
right. So you finished it and you paid only 300 to finish it. According to the Smeh, the payal will get Yodi al Elyonim means he'll get 500.
Yeah.
Why? Because Yodi al Elyono.
How many hours did he work for?
4.
And he's getting paid $100 an hour?
Yeah.
So then he gets $400.
He should, but the Smeh says he gets 500 because you finished it at 3. The second guy only cost you 3. The Shach says, what are you talking about? He only worked 4 hours.
And
So
somebody, the Soicher only did half the work, or what? What did he do?
Yeah, well, the Seicher worked half the hours. He worked 4 hours.
4 hours. And how much of the work was completed?
Let's say he did a very good job in those 4 hours.
Yeah.
And he completed a lot of the work. So now you only had to pay for 3 more hours for another guy to complete it.
Okay, so $300 more, let's say.
Yeah. So according to the Smeh, he gets the Revach.
He gets 700?
So he would get 500.
Oh, sorry, 500 because it's 800 in Gansen, right?
Yeah, because he would get the Revach. Because that's Yodel, right? Meaning buy a Kablan, if it costs you only 300 to finish, he still only gets his 4. If it costs you 500, you deduct it from him and he gets only 3. By a Kablan, right?
A Kablan is also getting $800, right, to complete the job?
Same thing. Let's say same thing. He's getting
$800. So then he how much?
And let's say it cost you.
The Kablan, you figure how much will the other guy?
Yeah.
And you
but
deduct
only
it from him.
But only up until what he worked. Only up until the amount he worked. Not more than that.
So how do you figure how much he works? He's not working for the hour, he's working for the job, by the job.
That's funny. I decided the same question. I guess you're Meidechit. Not only that, it's Lefi has like logically, right?
Yeah.
Logically, I would say if it cost you 300 to finish it, Mistama, he did $500 of work.
That's what I'm saying. Right? You don't look.
It's almost like the proof is in the pudding.
You don't look how much work he did. I think with the way you figure it like this. The Kablan did X amount of work, right? Was on his line. Now we're gonna go, and we have to complete it. We get another Kablan.
Right,
now,
but yet
originally it was $800. Originally it was $800. Yeah.
Right.
Originally, the Kablan's gonna get $800 to finish the job. So he left in the middle. So we go to another Kablan, and on the same rate, we have to be, I guess, fair. So
it's not fair because even if the other Kablan is more expensive than this Kablan who's out.
So then whatever it is it 500? It's gonna be so then.
So that's what's interesting. By Kablan, it doesn't work that way. If it's 300. Meaning,
if the other guy
the truth is nowadays in a regular case, it's going to be like you're saying, because generally speaking, the way you're going to be meidechit is based on how much is left to be done. So that proves that you did X amount of work.
So the thing is this: you don't look how much was done. You look how much is it going to cost to be mashlim by the Kablan. How much is do you need to pay the second guy?
But that's only
$500. $500. So then the other guy it's $300. You give the other guy $300. The first guy did more work. Es hat mich nicht. Too bad. You know what I'm saying? It's just plain too bad.
But because the other way you would say you would say the opposite way, the same thing, right? But it's not like that. Now the truth is, the payil, it's probably going to be like that. Meaning, especially because it's so hard to prove how much work somebody actually did. Usually, if it's going to come in front of a best, and you come and you say, "Listen,
let me tell you something."
He stopped the middle, and it cost me 300 to finish. So they're going to say, "Fine, so Mr. He did 500 of work."
But the Kablan.
But let's say you were mighty the amount of work he did, and he did, and he did $400 worth of the work. Or by the way, or let's say contractually, let's say in the estimate. He estimated out each stage of the work, and if you go by his estimate, he only finished 400. The other guy was cheaper; he did the rest of it for 300 instead of 400. In such a case, the revach is going to go to the employer. Now again, if it's not if they didn't break down the job like this, and it was just X amount for the whole job,
I think
then
that I think that I
yeah.
think
So
that's
no,
what we
so
do.
in such a case, I think we're not gonna have a choice but to do like you're saying, is that it's gonna go plus or minus for both of them because
I'm sure this is machlokas apoiskim, whether you go and you
right.
vergribbel sich, how
Yeah,
much
yeah.
work the first guy
No,
did.
no. So
I'm
that's
sure.
not only that the positive thing here is that the revach goes to the balabos, the revach goes to the employer. Now, bepayil, nowadays I would see that happening, being more feasible when there's a breakdown of the job, because then it's clear. Here, your contract was like this. You did X, Y, and Z. So why should I pay you more than what you specified in the
Oh,
contract?
so I'll pay you for the amount that you did.
Right. And
Not so
and then
fast.
I
Not
and then
not
I'll benefit from and the fact that I found the rest of the contract for less. That's my benefit.
yeah, but you're not going to give the guy a penny until you finish with the second guy. I'll tell you why. What about
A
the you
hundred
can't
percent.
find what
A
about
hundred percent.
you can't find a guy on the same rate? What about you have to pay the second guy more?
100%. You're
He
gonna
messed
wait.
you up. He messed you up,
Right.
right?
You're gonna wait till the job's done, and then I'm gonna cheshbon with you. 100%.
Because if the other guy charges a higher rate,
Not only that, even if the other guy quotes it out already. You know how it works in construction. All of a sudden, he's something else. He realized whatever. No, I'm sorry. I'm going to finish the job.
after you finish paying him,
Yeah. Now the
after you
question will
finish paying him.
the question, which will be an interesting question, which he doesn't touch upon here, is how is when in construction sometimes you'll open the wall and now it's a whole different thing. But he also would have had to charge you more. So now who does that go on? That would be a good question. Like you open
Yeah.
the wall, all of a sudden it turns out the pipes are rotten and it costs more. Okay, but the other guy would have had to charge you more also. So maybe something
But
like
the
that.
other guy, you could hold him down for the price that
But only for the work that he quoted. I'm not
yeah,
sure because what
I don't
happens
know.
if
That's a shaila
already?
in itself. If the first guy says, "I'm quoting you $800 for a whole job," but he didn't know the pipes were for shimmels. If
Well,
he
it goes.
has a
Listen, a lot of that goes with minhag hamakim. For example, here in Pittsburgh, we have probably in New York is the same thing, where the houses are older, and it goes without saying the quote is based on what I can see with my naked eye. If I'm going to open the wall and the thing's going to be rotten or whatever, then I'm going to come. I'm not going to do it and charge you. I'm going to tell you, listen, I just opened the wall. Here's what I found. Here's what it costs. What do you want to do? Or if you want, get a different guy, get a plumber, whatever, a different guy, a plumber to fix it, and then I'll come back and finish. But I'm not going to do it for free. Listen, I opened the wall. There's something that I couldn't have known. So that's the way it works here anyway. Bichlal, you should know these things are very difficult cases.
very difficult case because a lot has to do with minhag hamakom also.
Minhag
I can
hamakom,
assure, I can assure you,
it's also it's very hard to be ma'arich how much work was done, and not only that, now you have a fine. So how much is going to be the other guy to finish it? But what if now you gave the other guy a different instruction? You told him put nicer moldings. I don't have to pay for your nicer moldings.
what about the other guy has a different way of working and he charges?
Right? Yeah. So these things are very and
I don't know. You see, I think this is a subject on itself about the second guy. That's it. But Pashtus, the way he's saying it, I'm not saying this is lehalocha, but I'm saying
I know this firsthand in several cases.
That what about the other guy? You telling me? Let's say the whole job was $800 by the first guy, right? So then you sit down. You're marich how much the guy did, let's say, and he said, okay, you did half the job. So Sikum did $400. I'm not going to give it to you yet, but that's what Sikum did $400. Now that's fine and good if the second guy is going to charge you for the same to be mashlim the job another $400. Then you give palga, right? But what about that's fine. That's that halavai zol zayin azoy poshut. But what about if it's not so poshut? What about the second guy tells you? I don't know what the other guy said, but the other half is no $400. It's going to cost you another $600.
Right.
The worker doesn't want to. Vinny's Batzonen doesn't feel. He doesn't want to pay that kind of money. You know what I'm saying?
No, so then it comes out of the first guy.
You better believe it. You better believe it. That's the way it goes because he's
Yeah.
a kablan.
Yeah,
and I'll
sorry.
tell you why. And I'll tell you why.
Listen, you're a Koblin, and you quit in the middle. I'm sorry.
You
You're the
quit.
other
Now you suffer. That's your
You suffer the correct. You're going to suffer the consequences.
I
Where it
think
gets complicated.
It gets complicated. Of course, it gets complicated because
is fine. That's assuming that you haven't just finished the job. What if you did a change order, and now what belongs to the change order and what belongs to the original? That's where it can get very complicated. The pashtus when it comes by construction jobs, anyways, these things can get unbelievably complicated.
Yeah.
Because job orders can change in the middle. So wait, Taka to finish the original job, you suffer the consequences, whatever it's going to cost. But what if now I change the job and I added something? Oh, you know what? I decided let's move the sink from here. So now it becomes very hard because that's not the first Kabbalin's problem. These things have become very, very difficult.
Yeah, but if you want Hidurim afterwards, in Yiddish we call them pitchivkas, right? You want pitchivkas?
Right, yeah.
I don't think the first Kabbalan should have to.
He shouldn't. What I'm saying is, what I'm saying is, the pashtus becomes very hard to separate these things.
To determine, is a schwere Sach. But
because how it was built and how it was these things can be unbelievably confusing.
The Maisa with the pipes, that I would like to hear a clear psak from a Rav. That if a Kabbalan quotes you something, right?
Yeah.
Does he have to write in the contract a clause? I'm sure Rabbi Kazimov
I can tell you generally speaking in the contracts that we use when I used to do that, the contracting.
Oh, you used to do this. I didn't know that.
Every contract that I saw always specified. However, even if it didn't specify, it's clear minhag hamakim.
Yeah,
that I'm quoting you based on what I can see.
Right.
And if something unforeseen
Makes
comes
sense.
up, I'm going to come and tell you, hey, this came up. What do you want to do?
It makes sense. It makes sense what you're saying.
But generally speaking, and it's obviously the smartest way to do it, is not rely on minhag hamakim, because very often they'll come and say, oh, what do you mean? But you quoted me this, and now it's this. Listen, so therefore it's generally specified very clearly in the contract that this is what we're doing, and anything unforeseen that once we open the walls that comes up, we will bring to your attention and give you the option, and then you'll decide what you want to do. So now the Ramah says that because of Libnei Salavodim, you shouldn't take a job as a schiriyim for 3 years or more, and that's even if it's Melachas Kedesh. Why, like it says in Sefer Yeshaya, B'shal Lishanim Shnei Socher, which the Smeb brings, the Shach brings a more logical thing to it. And some hold no, it has to be 6 years because we don't go by that. We go by an every 6 years, not 3 years. The Shach adds that if he's a poor person, he would be allowed to. He doesn't even have clothes or food. Then he would be allowed because he would be allowed to even become an avidivri. So Allah has come v'kam, he's allowed to become a schir yom for even 6 years. Chavas Yoir says that this does not apply to a Rov or a Chazan because that the mamish eved l'Hashem v'le'eved l'avodim, but most Achreim do not agree with this. They feel that even Melach Shemayim, it's still considered mitzad this iser to be eved l'avodim. However, the Tzel Chachma says that nowadays it's very different because we're talking about back then where he would live by the balabas, he would eat by his table, v'chulu v'chulu. Where nowadays this is generally not the agreement. That the people they have a free time to do what they need to do, and they leave in middle, they go back home. It's not a 3 year solid period nowadays. You're not really like him. It's not Daimel Eved Bichlal. Right, and furthermore, it's only the whole thing is not like a regular job nowadays. That because a person goes back home in the middle, so it's bichlal not considered this. Fine. No, we got through 2 of the 4 that we were planning to.